Hey, hello, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Easy Markets Daily Pitch International with me, Darius Anucauskas. Happy Easter to the Catholic world, guys. So, yep, happy Easter if you're celebrating that. Look, today we're going to have a quick look at the markets, just a few of the charts. I get it, not everything is open, but US is coming back. So Europe is still on holiday. But yeah, guys, as always, we'll have a look at quick look at the technicals, see how can we position ourselves for the week ahead and in general for the day. But yeah, look, before we go further, we need to quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, yep, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendations and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. Look, I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest and we can continue. I'll disappear here for a little bit and yeah, I'll resume in a few seconds. Okay, guys. So now then, so just before we jump into the charts, just a quick mentioning of our Easy Markets website, which you can check out for more information about us, about our conditions that we offer. So, yep. I believe you might find some useful stuff here. So if anybody have any questions, you can always reach out to me or to any of our customer support guys. So, yep, we're here to help you. Now, okay, guys, so the charts, let's jump into the charts. Now, Nikkei 225, okay, the index was trading today, so I mean, we pushed a little bit higher, but to be honest, not much activity. I mean, understandable. We're still kind of we're back above this 27,493 or actually more, not a 93, but more of a this 38.2% retracement on the Fibonacci, which is approximately near that 27,600 zone. So we pushed back above it. However, if you remember last week, I talked about this idea. I said that, look, if I want to go a little bit higher, I would like to see a push back above the 23.6% retracement here on the Fibonacci, which I'm still having on my chart. I mean, I'm not getting rid of it yet. So if we do climb back above this little hurdle, I will consider a move towards this downside line taken from the high of the 8th of March, and then we'll take it from there. For the downside, well, this is where the tricky bit comes in. Look, previously I talked about the EMAs here, and I'm still kind of keeping an eye on them. But the only thing is that the way everything's shaping up, I think that the easier option, and I think that yes, we would have to wait for this one for a little bit, but I think the easier option is just to wait for a drop below all the EMAs, and also this could lead to a break of this upside support line taken from the low of the 15th of March. So all that could play out nicely here, and that's why I will rather play the waiting game on this one for the downside, and then yeah, we'll get a little bit more excited with further declines. Of course, look, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm also keeping an eye on this little hurdle, that 27,493, which acted as a good area of support last week. So also something to consider. But again, look, we do have these other obstacles on the way lower here, so let's just kind of keep it simple for now. And if you don't like something, just probably the main rule is not, don't touch it. Wait for it to give you like a good opportunity to kind of make an entry. And again, just entering for the sake of it, it's not really the game that we're playing here. So we rather have our everything set up correctly, because then, for example, you can at least justify why you've entered in here or there. You always need to have justification in a way, because again, just if you're just doing it randomly, then well, it's like a coin toss in a way. So it's most of the time it's like a coin toss, but sometimes, you know, we can see these larger probabilities for something happening whenever we reach or break or, you know, hit our one of our levels. Now, ASX 200, I'm not picking up on that one today because, again, look, everything's closed apart from the US, and it's going to open up later on. But China's 50 index, this one is the FTSE China 50 index. So, yep, looking at the picture here, you can see that it's quite interesting as well because, again, we're oscillating around the EMAs right now, especially the 50 and the 100, which currently coincide nicely here. So, yeah, the 200-day EMA is just acting as a nice area of resistance. That's okay. That's great. But look, in order to consider, let's say, the next short-term directional move on this one, I believe that for the upside, we need to see a push somewhere above this 13,420 territory, somewhere around here, because a nice forthcoming higher high would be confirmed. We would be above the 200-day EMA, and potentially more buyers could join in here. So something like this could be possible, but I'm going to only draw my arrow up until here somewhere, because again, we do have a good obstacle on the way higher, the 13,838. Let's see if we can reach that. But again, it's a bit of a waiting game, I believe so. But hey, for the downside, I would like to see not only a drop somewhere below this territory from the short-term perspective, of course, the 13,096. If we fall below it, then yes, of course, I will target the 12,821 right here, marked by the lowest point of March. So something like this here could be possible. But again, I know maybe it's not the most exciting thing here to do is to wait, but hey, you know, we always kind of have to do that, unfortunately, in this game. So I'd rather, you know, stick to my game plan and kind of approach it from this perspective. So the S&P 500. Okay, look, job numbers last week. NFPs came out much lower. Let me just quickly remind myself of the number. Let's have a look here. Yes, the NFPs came out at 236 against the previous 326. Okay, that's quite a okay. The expectation was already for a decline. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it came out even below the forecast. Now, the unemployment figure actually dropped from 3.6 to 3.5, so that was a good kind of surprise there. And the average hourly earnings climbed the month-on-month basis ticked by 0.1%. So from the previous 0.2 to plus 0.2 to plus 0.3. Okay, now look, the way we can interpret that is that in general the number, although the NFPs declined, but the unemployment fell. So unemployment is currently at 3.5 in the US. Average hourly earnings ticked a little bit higher. So this kind of doesn't really work well with the idea of a rate hike. Or should I say, with the idea of no rate hikes. So on the contrary, it works well with the idea of a rate hike, because again, this indicates that the economy is still strong, and the fact that average hourly earnings rose, yes, that kind of could lead to the fact that we could see a 25 basis point increase. But again, look, we do have the CPIs this week on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Check the economic calendar for that. As you can see here on the Fed Watch tool, yes, we are now considering that 25 basis points. So it's kind of leaning towards that idea. So yep, 64% for an increase. Okay, that's logical. Everything so far is logical, because again, the number came out higher, and that's why. So if you remember, the whole last week we were sitting just at 50-50 here, and now it changed. So what can we expect here on the indices on the US indices. Look, in general, I'm still a little bit more bullish. Now, although, don't get me wrong, I mean, higher interest rates are bad for the indices. So maybe, later on it could have its effect. But in the short run, I'm still leaning a little bit more to the upside. And look, I'm going to support my upside scenario with this. So if we continue to trade above this upside support line taken from the low the 13th of March, then yes, we could go a little bit more to the upside. We could go towards the 4,168, 86, something like that, and maybe even all the way towards that highest point of February of this year, near the 4,280, 4,208. That's the current highest point of this year. Good potential target as long as we stay above this upside line. Now, for the downside, now this is where I need to get rid of this downside line. I think no longer needed. A few adjustments here on the lines should happen. So, for example, this 4,096 territory. Yep, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that one. So that's the low of last week. If we fall below it, then this will confirm a forthcoming lower low and potentially could lead to a test of this highlighted zone right here. Now, I previously had talked about it, and I said that keep your eyes on it. This area is between the 4,074 and the 82 levels. But look, I think that what we need to do here is just kind of widen the area a little bit here. So basically, this whole zone could become quite an interesting one. So look, why I'm saying is an interesting one because again, look, if we do fall below that 4,096 territory, yes, this opens up the door for a few moves to the downside, but we do have these obstacles on the way lower, as I just mentioned. The 4,055 territory also is a good potential target. That's what I'm kind of leaning to, and here also, depending on how this is going to trade, of course, maybe by the time, let's say, if we do fall below this area, maybe by the time we could also reach that 50-day EMA, which could, by the time, coincide with the hurdle, with the 4,055 zone. So, again, good potential scenario here for the downside, but again, as I said before, as long as we remain above this upside support line right here, I will continue targeting the upside, at least in the near term. Now, Nasdaq 100. So, looking at the picture here, you can see that it's still hanging above some of its key support levels. For example, look, I talked about this 13,082 territory, which so far is doing a good job. It's working, and in a way, we could still consider a nice good move higher. But this time, I think that the easier option is to wait maybe for a push above this 13,220 territory right here, the one that I talked several times before, and this, as by the way, is the high of the 26th of August of 2022. So you can see that it acted as a good area of support recently, then resistance. So if we clear up this target, then yes, great, I will go to the upside. I will go a little bit more towards the end. I think this is where a few adjustments have to be made. I will target the current highest point of April near the 13,350 zone, approximately around there, so around this one. But if that gets clear, then of course my preferred target is the 13,500 zone. So let's keep an eye on that one. But yeah, look, I mean, in order to go higher, I need to see a push above this little hurdle here, the 13,220 for the downside. Now, ideally, actually, I would prefer to see a drop somewhere below this, below the 12,950, and then kind of consider maybe a bit of a move to the downside, because again, we do have the 50-day EMA right here. We also have the 12,733 territory, which I'm still keeping an eye on. Look, if you're thinking also about this little hurdle, you're not wrong here. The 12,635 could be a nice good target, but initially, of course, initially a drop below this hurdle is needed. And also something that I'm keeping an eye on here for you just to kind of keep in mind is, look, we have this little short-term tentative downside resistance line, and look, it is still kind of playing out, I would say. And in a way, you can also draw it maybe this way. Maybe it's going to be a nice one here as well, like that. So maybe a little bit of a flatter one, which, not a steep one like that, but a flatter one. So basically meaning that, look, if we break this downside line, this may attract a few more buyers into the game. But if we don't, if we start, let's say, dripping a little bit lower here, falling below that 13,081 zone right here that I have marked, yes, there could be some downside, but like I said, I'll have this target right here as my main one for the downside. So the 12,950. So but yeah, if we do slide all the way towards that 12,950, maybe we could be forming a nice descending triangle. Now, according to all the TA rules, these patterns tend to break to the downside, and maybe this could be that extra confirmation for some lower levels. However, I have to point that out that these patterns not always work out as according to the textbook. So sometimes they do break higher. But either way, guys, this whole area, I'm waiting out. And here for now, I mean, I'm waiting for a clear breakthrough one of the sides here, and then I'll take it from there. The German index. So yeah, this one's going to be closed, but still wanted to pick up on this one. And basically, look, I talked about this a few times and several times actually in my previous videos, and I said, look, if we're gonna push through that 15,815 territory right here, then yes, I'll get a little bit more excited with the upside. But for the downside, I need to see a drop somewhere below this hurdle. I get it. This whole area right there, maybe we could be missing out on a bit of territory. I mean, some of you might say, but hey, what about that little hurdle here, the low of last week? Well, yeah, you could keep an eye on it. This 15,627 territory, if we fall below it, this, yeah, of course, may attract a few more sellers into the game. But actually, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna get a little bit more excited with the downside from around here. But if you are a little bit more adventurous, then yes, you could keep an eye on this one. But again, be careful, because maybe we're forming, a nice bullish flag, something like that, and we could then pop higher later on. But at this point, look, we're near this barrier, the 15,815. So in order to go higher, yes, we need to see a clear break through it, and we'd like to see the daily candle staying above that as well. Just bear with me one moment. Okay, yeah, sorry about that too. Yeah, my throat was going sore a little bit. But look, the dollar index. Okay, this one is an interesting one as well, because again, we pushed above this territory, above the 101.72 zone. I talked about this, and on Friday I mentioned this, and I said, if we do push back above this hurdle, I will consider maybe a possible move towards this downside line taken from the high of the 24th of March. Now, look, this is a bit of a tentative downside line. Don't get me wrong. It's not really something to keep in mind for too much or to focus on something like that. But what you can do here is keep your eyes on this downside line, which we are currently testing. So, long story short, if we do break this downside line, the bigger one here, the ones drawn from the high of the 8th of March, then yes, I will target my other downside line here, and then we'll go slowly, step by step, like that. In order to, let's say, consider maybe a larger move to the upside here, well, actually, I would like to see a clearance of this downside line, and maybe even actually, a push above these EMAs. But again, that's something for medium term. Look, at this point, I would say just let's see how these levels play out in terms of the downside. For example, I have the 101.09 territory, which could be quite an interesting one as well. If we do clear that one, this will confirm a forthcoming lower low here in the near term. And then my next target is the lowest point of February near the 100.67 territory, and then we'll take it from there. But currently, of course, I'm keeping an eye on this downside line, this steeper one. And if we clear it, then yes, we'll go a little bit higher. Jumping into gold. So look, trading beautifully, nicely within this rising channel here. So okay, That's, I would say that's great here. Everything's, and look how well my target is working out, this 1990 zone. So I talked about that one, and I said that if we fall below this, I will lean a little bit more towards the downside. And well, what I'm seeing here right now is a nice hold up near that 1990. So I would say, hey, wonderful. Everything is working out nicely. Look, so if you want to go lower, guys, a drop below that 1990 territory is needed, and then we'll go, towards the lower side of the rising channel. Now, again, I've put this as a rising channel for now because, again, it seems like one. Of course, if we do drop below this 1990 territory, go lower, test the the lower side of the rising channel, and then rebound back up, then yes, this could be a beautiful confirmation for me that yes, everything's working out nicely here. So long story short, if you're looking for some higher levels on this one, I think that the easier option is to let me just grab this arrow very quickly. The easier option is to wait for a push back above, maybe above that psychological 2000 mark, and then kind of take it from there. Yes, we will have that 2010 as an obstacle, as a good obstacle, but if we, like I said, I'll start looking at some higher levels if we do push back above the 2000 mark. Now, so looking at silver, also stuck, not doing much, just kind of flat. But this one's a little bit more bullish than bearish, to be honest. Because, look, we have a nice pole and we have a nice little kind of pennant flag, something like that. So basically, in other words, so far this idea is working out. The one that I talked about last week, this curved move to the upside. Yeah, if it is a bullish flag, then we could see some more upside. But I think that the easier option is still to wait for a push above this hurdle right there. So if we do clear that, if we do clear that 25.14 territory right now, then yes, this will confirm a forthcoming higher high, and potentially more buyers could join in, and then we'll take it from there. No, for the downside, from the short-term perspective, a drop below the 24.64 territory would be needed. And then, yes, if we fall below this, we could consider a larger correction to the downside, because again, this move lower could still be classed as a temporary correction before another possible leg of buying. So because we're still above this upside support line taken from the low, the 21st of March. Oil, still, yeah, the same game plan. Look, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because I talked a lot about it. I'm still watching that my highlighted territory. I mean, I have been talking about this since February, honestly. I think actually I've been talking about this earlier already, but yeah, on this webinar, I've been talking about this since March, the beginning of March, but I have this barrier already kind of marked for quite a while. So far, look, it's quite an interesting one. We are looking at the barrier here, this 81.73, 82.64 levels between that. But in general, the fact that the 200-day EMA is doing a good job, of course, that kind of puts this element of positivity, could bring that element of positivity if we do push above the 200-day EMA right here and stay above it. Because so far, we're just getting these little false breakouts. But if we stay above the 200-day EMA, this may attract a few more buyers. Now, for the downside, drop below that 79 territory is needed, but again, I would still class that as a temporary correction before another possible leg of buying, as long as we remain above this upside line taken from the low of the 20th of March. Now, let's jump into Bitcoin very quickly, guys. So Bitcoin still flat in a way. We're still kind of trading in this range, or some of you might say, but hey, maybe we're actually getting into a bit of a squeeze. Maybe we're also forming this nice ascending triangle pattern. But look, there's a lot of things that we can start considering here. We can consider maybe this, triangle, and that's why I would say that maybe we're in a squeeze. So basically, if this is a nice triangle pattern here, then certainly a breakout here is required in order to consider the next short-term directional move. But look, either way, some confirmation breaks are needed. So we're just kind of look for the upside. I still need to see a push above that 29,000 mark. That's going to be for me the area to watch higher. But if we drop below this upside line here, which is in a way the lower side of the triangle, then I will consider a bit of a move towards that 26,555 territory, and then I'll take it from there. At this point, I'm just observing the price action and waiting. Litecoin, similar story, playing the waiting game. So, but I've talked already a lot about this. It's kind of the same thing. Not much has changed. So we're currently in a range, so we need to see a clearance. Let's wait until we clear one of the sides here of the range, and then we'll take it from there. Dogecoin, look, so far so good. Played out perfectly. Mission accomplished. Because again, if you remember, after we had this jump here from thank you very much to Mr. Musk. I said, look, if this barrier continues to hold, we could see a decline. Initially, I'll aim for that 0.0920 territory, but if that gets cleared, I'll go lower. And so far, yeah, so good. We reached the EMAs. Now the question here is, can we see something like this? So yeah, can we see a little bit of a rebound from this upside line taken from the low of the 10th of March? If we can, great. I will go back up here towards that 0.10 zone. But if we start breaking this upside line, this means that we would also be placed below the EMAs, and potentially, this could lead to some lower levels, guys. So just kind of be careful with that. AUDUSD, so jumping into a few pairs. Look, we broke the lower side of the rising channel. In a way, I'm kind of leaning towards the downside. Simple as that, guys. I'm going to aim lower as long as we stay below this lower side of the rising channel. If we do stay below it, then yes, my next target is the 0.6625. If we clear that one, the 0.6564 territory is the next one to watch. So yeah, that's the game plan. But at the moment, unfortunately, that is how it is. I talked about this last week, as I said, and so far it's working out nicely. For the upside, I need to see a push, a strong push back here, back above the 0.6795 zone, 94, something like that here. And then we'll take it from there, because at the same time, we would be placed above all of the EMAs, and potentially more buyers could join in. AUDJPY. Look, this one's quite an interesting one. I talked about it, and I said, look, I'm going to be cautiously bullish on this one, because it seems like we're forming these higher lows, as you can see here. This is what I talked about last week, and I said, hey, the only thing is that I'm going to get more bullish is from this break of this downside line taken from the high of the 21st of February. So, because again, any move up until here, and for example, let's say if this 88.55 territory continues to do a good job and provides resistance as it is doing right now, then, well, a decline here could be possible. We could move lower. We could move towards the 87.41 zone, or even maybe the same 87 territory, and then we will kind of take it from there. So long story short, at the moment, I am considering this scenario. But if only if this 88.55 territory holds. If we push above it, I'll lean towards the downside line here, towards that 50-day EMA from the short-term perspective. USDJPY, beautiful range. Look, I mean, not much to talk about here. I mean, I talked about this last time, and I said, hey, we're in range, rebounded recently from the lower side of it, and we're pushing back up. And I said that if we climb above the 132.20, I will go to the upper side of the range. And so far, I'm targeting that. We have a hold up near the 50-day EMA. To be honest, it's quite logical. Okay. But still, if we clear the 50, I will go towards that 133.55 territory right here, which is the upper side, near the upper side of of my range here. Because again, I will have to point that out, and I've told this before, that don't really focus on the exact level. focus on the area near that level, because sometimes we get like an overshoot, sometimes we don't get we fall shy by a few pips, you know, from reaching our target. So always aim for the range. For the area. Always aim for the area near your level. So for example, in my situation here, if we do, we pushed above this 132.20. My next target was the 50-day EMA. Reach that, clear that one. I'll go towards maybe the 133.50 or maybe even 45, something like that, and then I'll take it from there. For the downside, well, of course, a drop back below the midpoint of this range could open the door towards some lower levels, for sure, but probably to get a little bit more comfortable with the upside, and a similar story as here as well. Too much, yeah, too many. And also to get comfortable with the upside here as well, then yes, a break through the upper side is needed, but for the downside, I need to see a drop initially, of course, below the midpoint of this range. And then ideally more sellers could join in if we do fall below the 130.54 territory right there. USDCAD, very quickly on that one, guys. USDCAD, look, a nice good holdup is happening here near the 100-day EMA. I talked about this last week. Also, I said that's why my upside scenario is from around here, from around this barrier. I think I'm going to mark that for our future reference. So something like this. So if we do push back above it, then yes, I'll aim for the 50, shown as the red line here, 50-day EMA. If we push above this 1.3537 territory, yes, like I said, my next target is the 50-day EMA. Then I'm going to target these hurdles, the 1.3617, 1.3630, and then maybe if we get a clearance of that one, then the downside line here could be tested. So let's keep an eye on that one. For the downside, I'm going to take a very conservative approach here, as I mentioned last week. A drop below the 1.3411 would be required for me, because at the same time we would fall below the 200-day EMA here, and more sellers could join in. USD Mexican peso. So, USD Mexican peso, it's quite an interesting one here. Look, I talked about this as well, and I said to you, keep your eyes on this highlighted territory. And why? For that, I need to jump into a weekly chart. You can see that basically here on our chart that these are the lowest points of 2018 and 20, which now could be seen as nice areas of resistance. We cleared them, of course, but now we're seeing a push back up, and it's currently getting a hold up below those two levels. And at the same time, it's below the 50-day EMA, below all of our EMA. So in a way, I'm kind of leaning more towards the downside. But I have to say that I'm going to get more comfortable with the downside if we fall below the 17.90 territory, somewhere around here, because a forthcoming lower low would be confirmed, and then yes, we could go from there. I can see there in the chat room, Arhomin, hi to you too. Hi, I hope you're having a wonderful start of Monday of this week. So yep, I hope everybody else is joining in here, who's and everybody else who's joining in and having a wonderful start of this week. So yep, happy to see people here joining in. So feel free to say hi if you wish. I'll reply hi back to you. So yeah, but or if you wish, if you want me to cover a certain instrument apart from a stock, then yes, you can throw it out there. I'll see if I have it, and then yeah, we can go from there. GBPCHF. So look, this one's in a nice little range here as well. I talked about this last week, and basically we're stuck here in between these two levels, the 1.1206 and the 1.1414. Look, I'm gonna stick to the same analysis. Arhomin, thank you very much. Thank you. So yeah, I'm going to stick to the same analysis here on GBPCHF. Is that, look, I'm going to play the waiting game until we're stuck in between these two levels. I'm just observing the price action. I mean, if you like to trade ranges, congratulations, this could be a one for you. but I'm gonna wait for a clearance here. So if we do drop below the 1.1206 territory, somewhere below this, I will lean a little bit more towards the downside. For the upside, I need to push above the 1.1414, because at the same time, not only that we would be already above all of the EMAs, but also above this downside line taken from the high of the 31st of October. So yeah, if we do clear that one, great, more buyers could join in. GBPNZD. So look how well this played out. Look, I think I talked about this like 2 weeks ago, and I said, hey, maybe this is a nice rising veg pattern. Well, so far it seems to be the case. And what I said before, and not only about this pair, but in general, rising wedges tend to be bearish indications, according to the textbooks. Yeah, so they tend to break to the downside. However, we need a confirmation breakthrough the lower side of this pattern first, and then we could get a little bit more excited with, let's say the downside. As long as we remain inside the pattern, it could still go higher. And this is what I said to you when I've drawn this arrow right here. I said that, hey, we could see maybe a bit of a drift lower, a test of the lower side of the this rising wedge, and if it holds, a push back up could be possible towards the upper side of the rising wedge. Well, perfect. Everything just worked out according to the to the rules. So we're getting a hold up near the upper side. I mean, now the question here, can we see a drift maybe back down? Look, I'm gonna put this arrow like that. I'm gonna still mark it. So basically, if we do see another drift lower, if we do get a hold up near the lower side of the rising wedge, then yes, a nice rebound could be possible. However, if we start getting a nice break and we see the pair staying below this, if we see the body of the daily candle staying below this lower side of the rising wedge, then I'm going to aim for the 50, the 100, and the 200-day EMA. As you can see here, I don't have any levels drawn, but one level that I will put on the chart here is this one right here. The low of the 19th of March here on the yep. So the 1.9393 territory, a nice good potential target, coincides nicely with the 200-day EMA currently. So good possible target to consider. But of course, a bit of a waiting game has to happen first. And in general, don't forget that like I said, as long as we remain inside the pattern, it could still drift higher. And don't forget about this downside line as well, which we have drawn here. I have drawn here about 2 weeks ago, something like that. I said that in a way, if this continues to climb higher within the rising wedge pattern, we could end up maybe even testing the this downside line, this long-term downside resistance line taken from the high of the 3rd of February of 2022. Euro Aussie, guys. So look, this is also quite perfect because I talked about this before and I said that wait for that confirmation pop above this highlighted zone. Well, we got that. Great. Now what's next? Well, we stayed above it, and I said that if we stay above it, I'm going to aim for that 1.6437 territory. This is going to be my next target. That's the highest point of August of 2021. Not the highest point, if I'm saying, yep, not the highest point. Is that correct? Wait, just bear with me one moment. Oh yeah, actually, that's the highest point of 2021. Perfect. So this is what I'm aiming for right now, the highest point of 2021. Look, if we reach that, we might even overshoot it by a little bit. But let's say by the end of the day, if it comes back and retraces back below this hurdle, below this territory, this is where it could become quite interesting for a few more sellers. Maybe we could see a bit of a retracement or something like that. Let me just highlight this for our future reference, guys. So yep, something like this. So if we do reach that area, but then let's say we stay below it, maybe a bit of a retracement at some point could be possible. EURGBP. So after we rebounded from the 200-day EMA, I said, look, I'm going to aim for the 100-day EMA. Honestly, this is just as much as I don't like this pair, I really do like it at this point because it's kind of oscillating nicely around the EMAs on my chart. So basically, what I can say is that so far it's working out. I mean, look, I said that before. If we do drop below the 100-day EMA, I'll aim for the 200 reached. I said to you then after that, if we do rebound from this 200-day EMA, I'll aim back for the 100 or maybe even the 50-day EMA right here, shown as the red line. Okay, so far, so good. I mean, we almost reached the 100-day EMA. Actually, we reached it back here on Friday. Yep. And now we're still pushing higher. So if we clear the 100-day EMA right here, shown as the green line, my next target is the 50-day EMA. Simple as that. So I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to invent a bicycle here. So far, it's working. So, yeah. At the moment, if let's say if you want to go even higher, then certainly a push above the 50-day EMA would be needed. For the downside, yes, a drop below the 200-day EMA is required, and also maybe a drop below this little territory right here, and then we'll take it from there. EURCHF, guys. So I talked about this one last week as well. Look, I talked about this little hurdle, which so far is doing a very, very nice job. This one right, nope, not this one, right there, this one right here. So the 0.9848 zone, and same page on EURGBP, Archomin, hope. So I'm happy that you agree with my analysis. Thank you. EURCHF, look, this one, I'm looking at the hurdle here, the 0.9848. And if we want to go lower, certainly a drop below this hurdle could help. I'm not saying that this is, where it could open the door towards much lower levels. No, I have my ideal scenario towards this area, towards this lowest point of the lowest point of March here, and here the 0.9706. But of course, we need to keep an eye on the 0.9848 level first. So if we do clear that one, then yes, I will travel, will aim at least towards the 0.98 zone right here, and then we'll take it from there. But look, all this area here, don't know. I mean, look, I'll consider some higher levels if we do push back above all of the EMAs. But then still, this could be classed as a temporary correction before another possible leg of selling. So yep, this downside line, it's still in play, so that's why we have to kind of keep an eye on that one. Archomin discussed about BTC. Look, I covered BTC already, so it's I have this list of instruments that I go through. It's like the sequence of it. So even on the right side here, you can see that I kind of go through all these in the sequence. So look, I already covered BTC, so just after the video is finished, I mean, you can quickly redo the replay on that one. And yeah, sorry about that, but just like I said, I need to kind of continue with the video. But but normally, like I said, this is how it is. This is the structure that I normally cover these instruments in. So it's initially I start off with indices, then commodities, then crypto, and then I jump into forex. So so yeah, you can check out my previous videos on this as well, but also once this video is finished, it will be sitting there as a recorded one, and you can check out our page on our Easy Markets page on TradingView. We have all these recordings in there, so you just kind of go into streams, and you can quickly have a look at the instrument which I have covered in the list here. So, but these are, like I said, these are normally I prepare these in the morning. So these are the ones that I'm gonna talk about, and yeah. So anyway, you got the picture. I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, I got it. Okay. So me talking too much. Look, coming back to EURCHF, as I said, for the upside, I would like to see a push above the 200-day EMA here in order to consider a bit of a larger correction here to the upside towards this downside line. Look, I'm not saying that this downside line is something to kind of keep in mind, like, okay, sorry, not to watch not to consider as a main one, as a main barrier, resistance barrier. No, but it's just something to keep in mind. This is what I wanted to say. That if we do clear the 200-day EMA above this one, I mean, we push above it. Yes, I'll go higher. Well, I'll aim for this downside line, and then we'll take it from there. Because again, maybe this could form a nice wide range here or something like that. So basically, okay, let me just get rid of this. So maybe we could, start considering something like this here, a nice big wide range. But again, that's too early to talk about that. Let's see if we can actually climb back above the 200-day EMA. If we can, then yes, I'll aim for these levels right there. For the downside, I would like to see a drop below the 0.9848 territory, and then we'll take it from there. EURUSD. EURUSD. This one's my final one for today. Look, we drifted lower. We're kind of actually flat in a way, so not the most exciting, but hey, don't forget that we do have the when's that? Wednesday, US CPI numbers. So that's going to be quite an interesting one. In general, we on Wednesday as well, we have the Canadian interest rate decision. So that's going to be very interesting if you're trading CAD. So keep that in mind. But look, for now, I would say on EURUSD, I'm just observing the price action. I have this upside line, which I need to adjust. Actually, it's skewed a little bit. There we go. This upside line, taken from the low of the 15th of March, it's a very tentative upside line. So don't really focus on it too much. So look, I will probably, if we do break this upside line, great. Okay, wonderful. We could go a little bit lower, but maybe a drop below Friday's low near the 1.0876 might do the trick for a few more sellers. Then ideally I'm targeting this 1.0788 zone. I mean, we also could see the 50-day EMA approaching this area. But before that, actually, I have another little problematic upside line, which I need to consider, is this one right there. So basically, if we do break the 1.0876, then we have very little territory for, a move lower if this upside line taken from the low of the 24th of March proves to be an important one to watch. If we clear that one, then okay, great. We'll go further south. But just kind of mentioning this, that I have to mention this because, again, we have to consider all the possible scenarios here. So rather be safe than sorry, guys. So that's why, yeah, if you're looking for some higher levels, to be honest, for me, 1.0930 zone, I'm going to keep an eye on that one. If we push back above it, I will slowly aim to the upside, and then we'll take it from there. Some of you might, this is me, by the way, trying to overcomplicate things, as always. Look, we have this upside line as well. So, for example, what I'm trying to say is that maybe we could have ourselves also a nice rising wedge pattern. I would like to see that, don't get me wrong. I mean, I would like to see some more downside on this one, but at the moment, look, I will keep an eye on this upside line, this one taken from the low of the 15th of March. If we clear it, I'll remove it tomorrow. I mean, I'll get rid of it, and then we'll start maybe examining this idea of a potential rising wedge pattern. But again, as long as we remain inside the pattern, it could still drift higher. So just kind of don't ignore that, because again, we might end up with GBPNZD. For now, like I said, if you're looking for some lower levels, guys, probably the easiest option is to wait for maybe even a break of this upside line or the lower side of the potential rising wedge pattern. But I will start looking at some lower levels already if we do fall below the 1.0876, and then I'll take it from there, basically. For the upside, I need to see a push back above the 1.0930, and then, we'll consider maybe a bit of a move to the upside here. Okay, guys, thank you very much for everything. Thank you very much for joining in and watching this one till the end. Really appreciate that, guys. So, if you've missed on something, as we already discussed, you can always rewind the recorded session. If you want to catch me tomorrow morning, as always, 6 o'clock GMT time. For now, have a Guys, have a beautiful trading day. If you are trading. If you're not trading, if you're still on holiday, hey, just chill. Honestly, enjoy your moment, enjoy your time. If you think that you might be missing out on something, don't, because again, the market always presents itself with nice opportunities which we can take advantage of. And yes, but of course, with careful risk management. You have to have always stop losses, guys, that's for sure, and always risk what you can afford to lose. You can check out our easy markets guaranteed stop losses. I mean, we have a good tool on that one. You can check it out. But yeah, thank you very much. Join me, like I said, tomorrow for another one, for another technical overview, quick one, and then we'll go from there. Archomin, thank you very much for the compliment. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So, in general, guys, have a beautiful trading day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
If you want to continue to please the trading gods, subscribe to our channel for a blessing.